Okay, good to go now? Okay. So I've done several presentations to this group, and we were talking about keeping our mental health and building resilience during COVID. So we've progressed now to things opening up again, and we're faced with another issue. It's called return anxiety, and it really is a thing. It really is a thing. So what is return anxiety or re-entry anxiety? So the level of uncertainty about the COVID pandemic has been anxiety provoking for a lot of people. So over the past 2 years, many people have become used to a new way of life that was mostly spent indoors. And although we griped about it, that we couldn't go anywhere, it was really comforting that we were safe in our own homes. We weren't, exposing ourselves to possibly contracting COVID and other family members. So we kind of became comfortable in our cocoon, right? So now that everything is opening back up, while the pandemic is still ongoing, it's another transition and that the brain needs to adapt to in a short span of time. So although we're happy that things are opening back up again and we're kind of going back to normal, we need to adapt to, oh no, we're going back into this again. I'm not entirely comfortable with this. So it's not surprising that this new transition is anxiety provoking. And the sources for this anxiety include worry and a heightened risk of infection, new social expectation, and the readjustment of routines. We were getting way too comfortable in our own homes, way too comfortable Zooming in instead of having to go to meetings. So things are changing so we just need to adapt to that new routine. So as things return back to normal, it's not unusual to feel worried or anxious. In fact, it's quite normal. The pandemic has affected us all in different ways, and it's normal to feel uncertain about what the future holds. There's really a lot to think about. So many people are confused, worried, apprehensive about the changes going on around them. And common questions are, when are things going to return back to normal? When is this pandemic just going to go away? And another thing that we need to ask ourselves is, why am I so nervous about returning to normal? Because we are. Everybody's situation is unique. Okay, so we're going to talk about some helpful tips for people who may be experiencing stress or anxiety as we prepare to enter the post-lockdown world. Okay, so remember that feelings about returning back to reality vary, right? Some people are thrilled about the restrictions being lifted and happy to be getting back to social interaction. Others, however, are experiencing heightened anxiety or dread returning back to social situations. It's important to be empathetic towards everyone and understand that individual comfort levels are different. So if you're talking to somebody and they're still wearing their mask, or they still don't want to go anywhere, yet you're raring to go and everything, it's just really important to be empathetic towards where everyone is at this point in time. Some people are just not ready to get back into it, and everybody's at their own comfort level. Okay. But an important thing to do is to just use gradual exposure techniques, right? It's not necessary to jump back into everything. It's not necessary to get rid of your mask if you're not comfortable with that right now, even though we can. We just need to ease back into it slowly. Go at your own pace and don't let others influence your re-entry journey. I know that myself, when I go into crowded places, the grocery store or places like that, I'm still wearing my mask. There's a lot of people who don't, and that's okay. You have to be at your own pace. Moving too fast can be stressful and can just induce anxiety even more. So you don't want to do that to yourself. You just want to go at your own pace. Don't let anyone shame you. Just do what you can, what you feel comfortable with. And practice self-care such as exercise, hobbies, meditation, or mediation, my goodness, meditation, or anything else that helps you be well, because all these types of things will reduce your anxiety. Okay. So plan to renegotiate social norms. And what that means is the way we interact will look different than before the lockdown, before the pandemic. So we need to be prepared to set firm boundaries with people in your life who may be less concerned about the threat and unwilling to follow distancing guidelines. So the way we interact in the future, this is blocking my screen, the way we did before the pandemic is going to be way different, and that's okay. The pandemic has made us realize the importance of washing hands, using hand sanitizer, and we knew this was important before, but maybe we were just a little lax with it before. So we need to be vigilant, but not obsessive, right? That's very important. It's very easy, when reentry anxiety sets in to just really get a little bit obsessive and perhaps a bit paranoid. And let's guard against that. We need to remain vigilant. That's the message I like to give across. Excuse me. We need to set boundaries as well. So setting boundaries is a form of self-care. Determine what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and communicate your boundaries to others. Don't be afraid to do that. Be respectful of boundaries that others set. Let's recognize that everybody's comfort levels will differ, and give yourself permission to leave an event if you're feeling uncomfortable, right? I mean, we're able to host large family dinners now, but if that's not your comfort level, you need to explain to your family that you're not there yet. Some people are not vaccinated, don't want to be vaccinated, and that's okay. Just maybe you don't want to invite them into your home. So it's all about you and, renegotiating your social norms. What is good for you? So again, it's important to monitor your symptoms of stress and anxiety. Reentry anxiety is real and normal, okay? In times of change and uncertainty, some degree of stress and anxiety are expected. So that's okay. But if really it's getting the better of you, don't be afraid to reach out for help. If anxiety about returning to pre-pandemic activities and obligations persists and interferes with your everyday life to the point where you're just not coping, consider speaking to a professional. They can provide support and strategies to help you navigate the transition. Okay. Continue following public health advice. I know that what we hear on TV changes all the time, but we have to admit that public health advice has been consistent, right? It gives us a consistent message. And I continue following public health advice, and I think it's reliable, consistent, and it just makes sense. So there still remains some controversy over still needing to wear masks, or whether you need that second booster or fourth dose, especially for seniors. But go by public health guidelines. It does offer credible and useful information to help you feel comfortable easing back into things safely. Things that are being put forth that right now that are election promises and trying to get people to vote for them. Again, public health guidelines have never let us down. So do what you can to protect yourself and your family by continuing to follow public health advice. And Catherine's going, yes, I can see her. So I have a YouTube video and I have shared audio, so you should be able to hear it. If for some reason I'm the only one that hears it and think everybody's able to hear it, please send me a message in the chat and I'll see what I can do.
Some people are celebrating the ease in restrictions, while others say this step forward makes them want to take a step back. Now, Jade Cunningham takes a closer look at why some of us are feeling a little anxious about all the changes.
With restrictions loosening, life is slowly looking more like it used to, but that sense of normalcy is causing anxiety.
Will members of the community have post-traumatic stress from this? The answer is absolutely we will.
Jay Kaplan at LCMC Health says the past year has been a struggle for everyone.
I don't think we recognize this enough, that the COVID pandemic has really brought our own mortality right in front of our faces.
And as restrictions lift, some may find they're not as ready as they think they are to do what they did pre-COVID, like being with friends, eating inside a full restaurant, or even going back to the office.
I think that our previous reality was altered by this pandemic.
It may feel anxiety provoking to start going out if you haven't been doing that.
LSU Health clinical psychologist Michelle Moore says the feeling is normal. She suggests taking it slow with small tasks instead of jumping right in. And if you're feeling hesitation, it's okay.
If you're with other people you feel comfortable with, talk to them about it. Let other people know how you're feeling. Have somebody else provide you with some support to help you calm down.
The past year has been filled with stress, uncertainty, and fear. And while some feel that way looking ahead,
I don't like to say we'll go back to where we were. We'll go forward to the new normal.
the experts say you are not alone. And with time, that anxiety will ease. Jay Cunningham, Eyewitness News.
So Moore says it's just important that people just be mindful of others, that just because you're feeling okay doesn't mean others are. And if you see someone struggling, let them know that you're here to help.
Bear with me. There we go. So I love when he says, you know, reality is we're not going back to normal ever. Okay. This has really changed how we interact, how we react, and clinical psychologists and other experts are comparing this to a quasi post-traumatic stress disorder, what we're feeling right now. With post-traumatic stress disorder, it's all the result of trauma. Okay, change, anything, you know, like that is traumatic to us. So they are comparing this to a post-traumatic stress disorder, the fallout that we're feeling as we go into moving forward into the new normal. So I use that term a lot. What we're doing is we're moving forward into the new normal. So let's look at that. Okay. So how do we move forward with the new normal? What can we do to help us through this? So embrace the fact that we've slowed way down. You know, I know that these past 2 years when we've been doing things, working from home or doing things differently on Zoom, I have appreciated slowing things down a bit. I didn't realize just how busy I was. And I think many of us, you know, have really embraced that we've slowed way down, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know many people that I know have changed jobs or thought that this was the year that it's time to retire, because we've had a time to slow down, reflect, and look at what's really important to us. So as difficult as it may, you know, be believed, the pandemic that we've been experiencing since 2020 has brought a few major improvements to our lives. You know, as I said, it's caused us to slow down, way down. And this hasn't necessarily been a bad thing. It's helped us to take stock of the fact that we need to slow down and take care of ourselves. Okay. Also, it helped us to focus on what really matters. The pandemic has also shown us the importance of focusing on the things that truly matter in our lives. Working from home or being in lockdown has helped us to reconnect and rekindle relationships. Also, we have built our resilience and we've learned to adapt. Like we've had to adapt these past 2 years and learn the new social norms. We really have. The challenges that we've been faced with over the past 2 years has made us stronger as human beings. We've navigated through difficult times. Retire or have even changed jobs or have just quit jobs and, you know, have thought that, I think I'm freezing up here. Okay. So this is what we've had time to think about. The pandemic required us to adapt to new routines. It also helped us to take notice of new self-care practices and other positives that have come out of the pandemic that you may want to continue. Okay. We've been reflecting on things that you don't want to bring back in your life. Reopening doesn't mean that things have to return exactly the way that they were. They won't. So treat this as an opportunity to identify what you value most. Okay. We've also become more proficient at technology, haven't we? Who knew what Zoom was 2 years ago? Some of us were just mastering how to FaceTime or Skype. Remember Skype? Look at us now, though. We've certainly learned some valuable skills, which will no doubt continue into our new normal. You know, I see a lot of hybrid meetings continuing for those that still feel comfortable meeting via Zoom or other virtual ways. So concluding remarks, you know, as we're coping with reentry anxiety, you know, remember, just stop worrying about what we can't control. We may think that we're in complete control of our lives. I thought I was, but unfortunately there will be moments and unexpected situations in your life that will remind you that that's not true, as this pandemic certainly did. Turn off the news. I always say this, go outside, breathe. You were never meant to carry the burden of the entire world. I think it's important to remember that. Set boundaries, ease back into things as your comfort level increases. If family members or friends, you know, are still, you know, just not at the same level that you're at, it's important to communicate that with them and set those boundaries. Move past survival mode and begin to thrive. It's time. It's been 2 years. So remember that life was meant to be lived and enjoyed as we move forward into the new normal. Okay. Thank you. I want to make, somebody